Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's podcast. Today we have Carolina here with us, and she's an astrologer. So she's based in Georgia in the US. So thank you, Carolina, for coming on. I really appreciate you spending this time with us.
Thank
Would you
you
like
for,
to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
thank you for hosting me today. Hello, everybody. My name is Carolina Velez. I am the host and founder of Quest Mystic. I help women that are spiritually curious about what astrology has to offer, the basics to plan your life, to really explore who you are, and maybe perhaps be a little bit more of ahead of the times.
Wonderful. How long have you been an astrologer for?
Oh gosh, I've been practicing astrology for over 10 years. I
Mhm.
studied it officially in 2017. And before that, it was just a hidden passion of mine. Um, I grew up very much minded of like more scientific, where I wanted to explore the ancient history of things, but
Okay.
I was too shy to go into the taboo or the occult because oh my gosh,
Mhm.
what could I possibly find out? And I hadn't ever been raised from a religious background, but I still had that sort of like fear. And once I embraced my like full on like no, I need to go dive deep. I explored everything you could possibly imagine in the metaphysical realm.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, I love to read and I like to learn and I like to share.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. So it was like a calling for you, wasn't it, to do
It
that?
it was, and later when I started my astrology school classes, it was a really beautiful environment where we actually met in person, and there aren't that many of those available now in the U.S. And we got to really share our charts, and because that's how you learn. It's a
Mm.
very easy way to learn is by learning about yourself because you have there a tool, and through that process I came to the understanding that I had many things in my chart that lends towards astrology as a focus, and that would be like people who have a strong like say water nature but also Aquarian nature tends to be like Uranus. These are archetypes. And why? Because um the water and the Aquarius or Uranus piece, they're able to more easily pick up or understand some of these energies that people are talking about, and they're more open minded in a lot of ways than say someone that is more like wants to be sense of the realm of the earth of no, this is a lamp. There's no way that there's a spirit hanging around in this room and making this lamp flicker.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? That's just electricity,
Yeah.
you know? So that's that's been my exposure to it, and I just loved it, and I realized there was so much use to it, um, from using it as a way of not only self exploration but self healing,
Mhm.
going back at times and look at times that you've been wondering like what was happening during that time, what can I learn, because
Mm.
everything about astrology is cycles. it,
Okay.
it, it
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. Yeah. I
just
get
like
that.
you have a birthday every single year, you have a
Yeah.
cycle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So mine would be my Saturn return, but I think everyone must get a Saturn return, mustn't they?
Yeah, you'll have two of them
Yeah. Yeah.
and maybe three,
If you're lucky, you get three.
right?
Yeah.
You get three, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. So in can you tell everyone what their like sign is, like the planet that associates with their main sign? So like as I said, I'm Capricorn, so mine's Saturn. Um,
Sure.
I suppose I've got more than one that aligns with me, or would it just be that one?
So that's a
Make
great question. The technical term for all of that is called planetary rulership. So in the ancient times, the astrologers that were, and I don't know if they named themselves astrologers, but let's just say they were students of the stars,
hmm,
and they eventually had official titles, astrologers.
yeah.
And these individuals somehow started to correlate an association, an affinity between one planet and a sign.
Mm.
And in the ancient astrology teachings, it's more of the seven planets, and they don't pay attention to Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So
Okay.
they only go from Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, and then it ends. And
Okay.
so there are 12 signs, right? And so what does that mean? Well, there are some signs that have more than one ruler. And for that to happen, it is said that all signs have an expression of energy, whether it's masculine, yang, or yin, feminine, nighttime, daytime. Okay. And
Yeah.
so if we start from the very beginning, Aries is ruled by Mars,
Mm.
and it's a masculine energy. It is very active and forward moving. It's an initiating energy, right? It's generally the spring of of things really waking up, right? The Aries is the beginning of the entire um, zodiacal wheel, but
Mhm.
it's also the beginning of what we deem as like the beginning of your life, because it begins with the first house and on to the 12th. So the second sign is Taurus, and that's ruled by Venus, and that's a feminine. And you'll start to see that for every next step, it's a contrast to the prior step. So the third sign is Gemini, and that's a masculine sign
Right.
ruled by Mercury. And so if that's a masculine sign, the next sign is a feminine sign, and that's Cancer ruled by the moon. And then the following sign is Leo ruled by the sun, and then Virgo ruled by Mercury,
Mhm.
Libra ruled by Venus, Scorpio ruled by Mars, Sagittarius ruled by Jupiter, Capricorn ruled by Saturn, Aquarius ruled by Saturn, Pisces ruled by Jupiter.
Okay. Yeah.
Now,
That's interesting.
if you add the modern rulership of things, the three signs that get an additional one is
Mhm.
Scorpio, that gets Pluto.
Okay.
Then we have Aquarius that gets Uranus, and then Pisces that gets Neptune. And when I teach people this sort of thing, I try to first ground them in the traditional realm, because that is where the vast of the knowledge has come from, right?
Yeah.
Our ancestors and we are fascinated by this thing that's right above us, and so they sat there and learned it and tracked and noted and kept logs. This
Mhm.
was studied. So I have to give a little bit more weight. And I've also was taught also from a traditional landscape, as well as adding a modern layer. But there's so much there. Like, we don't, when people look at their astrological charts, they're like, oh my God, there's so
Mm.
much. It's just too much. So I'm like, simplify it, because the modern stuff is like, and it's almost like the cream of that you could add at the top. You don't have to learn that yet. You can really just stick to the simple ones. And learning your planetary ruler can really help you understand how you're possibly operating. And now, so planetary ruler. So that opens up the next question is, well, am I talking about my sun sign? Or
Yeah.
am I talking about my moon sign? Or is it about my chart ruler, meaning who is the ascendant ruler? And I would say it's all of it. So when you
Right.
go into your exploration of your chart, when we talked earlier, I was like, just pick one thing, because it's too much from the beginning. So either explore your sun ruler or your ascendant, which is the rising sign ruler. So
Yeah.
whatever sign is on your ascendant has a ruler.
Right.
If that's a Pisces, then that's Jupiter. If that's Leo, then it's the sun. If you have both your sun and your ascendant in the same sign, then really pay attention to that
Yeah.
planet.
I think my ascended is Sagittarius.
Yeah, so that's Jupiter.
Right. Okay. I know
Yeah.
I've got a lot of Capricorn in my chart. I know that I have looked at it before, and there's a lot of it in there. I thought, oh.
Yeah. And so that pairing is very fascinating to have in one's chart, to have Jupiter and Saturn so prominent because your chart ruler is very important. Your ascendant is very important because it is the lens through which you see the world and the world sees you,
Yeah. So
right?
how
So you
about your opposite sign then? How does that affect? So is Saturn a masculine?
Saturn is masculine.
Right. So
Yeah.
my opposite is Cancer.
Yeah.
That's
And
would that
so
be a feminine?
that's ruled by
Yeah.
the moon.
So has everybody got that, a masculine and a feminine aspect then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So just to give people an understanding, all 12 signs exist within you. It's
Mm,
not just the 10 placements
right.
of the planets or the seven that you're looking at, regardless, don't even include the asteroids. It just
Yeah.
focusing on that, right? And what do I mean by that? Because even if you don't have a planet in a sign, meaning and so it's vacant
Yeah.
in the circle, that area is still active in your life because the houses are really what tells you where the energies are playing out in your life. So if they're all accumulated, say in the 10th house, which is a public life, then you're really here to build a legacy of sorts for yourself. And you're
Mm,
really driven to like focus on more of the public life, the career life, than say the home life, which is the opposite,
mm.
the
Yeah.
10th
No.
and the fourth.
Yeah. And some of mine haven't got any planets or anything in them at all. They're just empty. But there's a
Yeah.
lot accumulated all at one part, which is like you're saying, which I haven't got my chart with me, but I have got it. And I remember when I looked at it and I thought, oh, this is like accumulation all in one, like all one one bit.
Yes, yes, yes. And so if you're looking at your chart and you know a little bit about your chart and you're listening in, if you have say like three or more items in one sign, it's called a stellium, and that is a concentrated energy in that sign.
Mm,
And it's like you can't really get away from not doing that focus of your life in
interesting.
that energy. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
you're here and you are going to experience these transits sort of lopsided because it's all going to fall in at times into that space.
Mm. So the
Now,
energy of those planets affect you when they come into your sign as it goes around. So we had a lot of planets moving and doing stuff
right, right.
recently.
And so you're speaking about transits. And so
Yeah.
that happens. So a transit essentially like your yearly birthday
Mm,
is a transit. That's the sun returning to the same spot it was when you were born.
mm,
And when the moon does that, you're having a lunar return. When the Saturn does that, it's a Saturn return. When Jupiter does that, it's a Jupiter return. So all the planets have a cycle, and your chart essentially is a clock. And this is why I love teaching people how to plan their perfect year because you don't necessarily have to dig into all the nitty gritty. But if you just focus on the one thing, there's a
mm.
technique that shows you this will get activated for this year,
Right.
and let's figure out what else will be active for you. For example, is it going to be about your values and how you create money and structure within that realm of resources? Or is it going to be about your children and your creativity?
Mm,
So these things are can be mapped out in a simplified way when we start to like dig in, and those charts that have that concentrated energy, it will be so clear to them just by the lunar changes
mm.
because that happens every 30 days.
Yeah.
And so it's boom, boom, hits it every single month. Like, here
Yeah.
we go, here we go. And so you could look at a pattern for yourself, like, oh, I've noticed that over time, something like this plays out. And no moment is the same, right? Like,
Mm,
obviously. And while yet there is a consistency that happens with astrology because the planets continue to do their cycles as they do.
mm. So how far advanced can you go by looking at a chart then?
You can go out in terms of time,
Yeah.
infinite.
So you can do a year, you can do 5 years, you can do
10
10.
years,
Oh,
15, 25 years, 30 years. You can go backwards in time.
go back
I have
as
a book here and it's
yeah,
called The Ephemeris. It's an ephemeris for it's printed. And before this was all calculated by hand. Okay. But this
yeah,
is a timetable. Just like we look at tables to
uh,
look up at the bus
yeah.
schedules. This is the schedule of the planets and where they're going to be every single day of the month of every single year for 2000 to 2050.
Wow.
Now I can buy 2050 to 2100. Like, it, yeah, it's all calculations. It's math.
Yeah. So you can look at someone's birthday, look at their sign, and then you can look at that and see where all those planets are on coming up for the next 30 years or something by the book. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, and
Not
that's
like,
how people try to look at how to predict their upcoming year.
mm,
It's how people will plan further out. Like you can plan pretty far out in advance, and this is where planning your and looking at this is fascinating because when once you reach, say, the 27, you start to pay more attention to the world around you. And after that, as we all know, we go through this period of time, the midlife era, right? Between mid 30s to mid 40s, where everything changes in life.
yeah,
And those are known astrological transits. Okay. They're studied.
yeah, yeah,
42 is a big one.
yeah. It is, isn't it? When's the next big one? Isn't there one again in the 50 when you're in getting your 50s?
When you're 50, you have your Chiron return and you have as well as some other transits. And you're also heading into your late 50s, 60, you have your second Saturn return. And then, so Saturn is one of those big ones that people track a lot of because it's so much about material realm of like responsibility and duty and are you working, are you paying your bills, are you being responsible with your time, with your boundaries, with your relationships, your bank account, are you saving enough for your retirement? That's Saturn,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And yeah, you giggle because I'm sure the Capricorn's like, yeah.
Yeah. But it's funny enough, no one ever guesses that I'm a Capricorn.
Well, that's because
If
your
they don't know.
Pisces mate, the Sagittarius lifts you up, like Sagittarius is like, yeah, woohoo, life is awesome.
Bit of a
Woohoo.
spirit, aren't they, the Saggies?
Yeah. And then the Capricorn's like, can we just get a
Yeah,
little bit more
heavy.
serious about this?
Yeah, no one ever guesses. They come up with all sorts of things, but yeah, never that. Obviously, they probably see traits once they know what I am, but yeah, they don't tend to guess it. So that would be my Sagittarius part then in it.
That's the film through which, people, and it's how you are perceived, but also how you perceive life. So even though this Capricorn nature is so committed to working hard and being that hustler that we all love, it still wants to have a good time and it
Mm,
still wants to find purpose in what they do.
yeah,
That's the Sagittarius. They really want to have like some meaning in their aspirations.
yeah,
And it's the goat climbing up the mountain, but you also have an arrow person shooting an arrow constantly out into the next realm, and the goat's like, yes, we will head there, yes, we will figure it out.
yeah.
And as a teacher or a healer, you are embodying that teacher energy of Sagittarius, very much so.
Hmm,
So it's beautiful. And so the next big one after, like, and there are multiple ones, but the other big one is 84.
okay.
84 is when Uranus really does its full completion of your chart. So it takes 84 years to do a round across the entire zodiac wheel.
Hmm,
And so you can just look around for those that who are in that age range and what ends up happening. Some people pass
Mm,
I track it, and it's obviously 80s, you
mm,
know, but it's a lot about Uranus is unexpected, very much unexpected energy. It's an awakening energy, and it's very electric. And so if you're not well
mm,
in receiving this energy that's electrifying, then I can see people passing. Um, yeah, so it's interesting. Like you can, my grandmother's 102, turning 103
wow.
next year. So she's gone way past that time, and we have a lot of deep conversations. And I she's a Sagittarius.
Okay.
She's a
So she
Sag.
enjoys her life, does she?
She loves life and
Yeah.
is always happy and smiling, and she has a deep faith. And whether it's religious or not, it doesn't matter. She just has a deep faith in life
Yeah.
and love, love. Yeah.
That's amazing to get to that age, isn't it? You don't
Yeah.
that often.
Well, I think at this point she might be a little bored with us. Um, yeah, yeah, she watches TV and she's like, "What is happening?" And I'm like, "Mom, Grandma, just don't do it."
Is she interested in astrology?
um, she thinks it's curious. Yeah, she's like,
Mm.
"Oh, okay, yeah, yeah." I'm
Mm.
definitely the weirdo in the family.
And it
And
was
I'm
all that come on this podcast.
Yeah, and I don't mind. I've always been the weirdo in the family. I've
Yeah.
always questioned reality and authority and structures in general. I'm very curious about what has happened in the past, like I ancient cultures, rituals, like I want to know all of that. That is so fascinating to me. And I find a lot of value in what our ancient cultures can teach us in our connection to the earth. um, Even though I spent 20 some years working for in the internet, it did a number on my spirit, because the more we spend time on these virtual places, which believe me, I'm building a business in the virtual reality, but um, we still need to be connected one on one. We still need to touch the earth. We still need to breathe air. These are vital to our health. And yeah, I just that's me. Like I love bringing these things up. And then when I discovered astrology and numerology and all the other practices, tarot, oracle, I started to wonder, like, wait a second, there's so many connections between these systems. And for those who are diehard um, ancient people's like texts, like the Book of the Dead, things of that nature, like even those texts talk about things that are give us clues to how much power the human body has, but also how we can tap into these natural technologies.
Yeah. Yeah. So what star sign are you? I'm curious now.
Yeah, so I'm a Cancer sun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm a Pisces rising.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of Aquarius and Uranus energy in my chart.
Mhm.
So I have a little bit of everything. I have, planets scattered. So yeah, I have what's called a trine in the air signs, and
Okay.
then a trine in the water signs. So that means, for those listening in, that I have all three air signs and all three water signs represented in my chart.
Yeah. Oh well, you got a lot, didn't you?
Yeah, I have if that's you out there and you're like, yeah, I have that too. Well, I'll tell you, the gifts are, if, depending on how they play out, because I don't know what your chart is, but if you that is, you have the great capability to be an empathic, creative, intuitive, natured individual who can also think very logically and wants to connect with others and build relationships. That's the beauty of having those two coupled, and they're at conflict at times.
Yeah. Okay. That's fascinating. I think I could probably talk to you all day long about this stuff, but
I mean, there's just so much there.
Yeah.
I have so I'll share with people. I don't know when this gets dropped or not, but if you do this beforehand, I have a 5-day free summit
Okay.
where there's going to be a medical astrologer speaking, and that's a whole nother study and
Oh,
whole
wow.
nother world that you can learn about you can heal your body through astrology by understanding the cycles, by understanding the minerals and the plants that are supportive. I'm not an expert. I have someone else that is speaking on that. And yeah, it's just there's so many places in that astrology could be used. You could use it for
Wow.
careers,
Yeah.
identify your career. You could use it to study the financial markets. You could do it for obviously if you wanted to be like actually this was they do this in India where they partner people based on their astrology.
Mhm.
So if you are a couples matchmaker and you don't know astrology, you should learn.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I was like, threw me for a minute there. Right, okay. So when's your summit thing coming on? Because I'll
Yeah.
put this out at the weekend, so this will come up quite quickly.
Oh, okay, great. So it's February 18th through February 22nd. And I know you have mainly people in Europe, but also maybe internationally. So this is based in US time.
Okay.
However, you can buy the replays for very little, and I'll share a discount code with you guys.
Oh, love.
So yeah, yeah, because it's 25 speakers. We're covering health, wealth, wisdom, happiness, and integration. There's
Wow.
going to be somebody teaching EFT tapping. There'll be somebody working with you on your finance like picture. There's going to be a human design individual. There'll be someone talking about gut health, which is critical, which is our second brain.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a little bit of everything for everyone.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that's my nature. So, we talked earlier about like how do you want to rock this world, or what do you want to be seen like that? For me, it's important for people to receive these things and find their people
Yeah.
and get to a place of thriving
Yeah.
because there's so much out there
So much
that
knowledge, isn't there,
there's
really?
so much knowledge, there's so much, and you can literally just the first step honestly is to trust yourself, learn to trust yourself, learn how to listen to your intuition, and learn how to develop a habit of discipline because nothing happens without it.
Yeah. Nothing changes unless you change it. That's it. Yeah.
Not,
Tell my lot that all the time. Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
And astrology will tell you that. If your Saturn is not operating well, I can guarantee you're either going to be a miser or just flopping out on the wind with like lawsuits against you.
Oh, wow.
you know,
To me, that
like
sounds very appealing, doesn't it?
and you're either like so uptight with the
Yeah.
things in your life that you can't find a way to be like giving and aspirational and expansive,
Mm.
or you're going to be on the other end where you're like not listening to the cues of like, yeah, you need to pay your electric bills in order for you to have an internet, in order for you to work online, in order for you to earn a living, or to blah 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 blah. There's many ways of how Saturnian way energy plays out, but the healthy and the unhealthy is one thing that I can see a lot of out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I guess you can. So, what would you say is in store for people this year then? There's a lot going on, isn't there, within the planets?
Yeah, 2025 opens up a new window for us. Like 2020 opened up a new window of energy that is somewhat coming into its conclusion just in time for another big wave.
Mm.
And what does this mean? So, how would I describe it? So I said, don't pay attention to the outer planets. And this is when I say, pay attention to the outer planets,
Okay.
because the outer planets give us long times of cycles for us to understand cultural changes. Okay. There is Jupiter and Saturn are the ones in the ancient realm that were very important, are for us to track, and their cycles are not very long, right? So Jupiter takes 12 years to go through the zodiac, whereas Saturn takes about almost 30 years. Okay, so you could look at a 30-year span to understand what's happened in society, and then another 30-year span. So whenever Saturn comes back to a sign, it's a cycle that has completed. Okay.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at Uranus, that's 84 years. When you're looking at Neptune, that's 125 some plus years. When you're looking at Pluto, that's 244 plus years. And so when these outer three planets change signs, it's a huge collective shift, and it's palpable in the air.
Yeah.
And
I
people
think
are like,
I've been to it.
I don't
Yeah.
know what's happening, but something is happening.
Yeah.
And so we're coming to the conclusion of Uranus moving from a feminine sign into a masculine sign. And that happens in July. It goes from Taurus into Gemini. Taurus was all about our resources, our food, our housing. Uh, it was a lot about body autonomy. So, what's happened during that Taurus time? The food prices, food scarcities, and certain food strikes,
Yeah.
food truckers, right? Truckers, and certainly I think in Europe, massive strikes by the truckers. Here in the United States as well, and that disrupted other things. Digital nomads became a thing during this time. People are
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I really need to be here and work. I could just be anywhere. So that change, and so that's what happens to Uranus. It changes things very rapidly, chaotically, and it's not always, not every instance is for the positive. Okay, like death can happen, or it's also associated with an atomic bomb. Like that's Uranian energy, uranium, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just think of the people. Think about the words we're using here.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. It's
Yeah.
everywhere. And then Pluto, plutonium, Pluto. So
Mm.
then, so that's Neptune. Then sorry, that was Uranus. So then the next one is Neptune changing signs in March, along with Saturn moving from Pisces into Aries.
Mm.
And that is from a feminine to a masculine. And Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is the god of war.
No.
Okay, so
Should I be worried about this?
there are signs of that. Let's not hide. This is real.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
out there. It's happening. And so on a collective level, do we end up manifesting this for ourselves? Maybe, or individually, you're being called to take responsibility for
Yeah.
yourself and go and initiate something that you need doing.
What
That's
came
what
to
Aries
mind
is.
then was more of a spiritual war, the dark
Yeah,
and the light. There's a lot going on, isn't there, at the minute?
there
Like,
is. There's a lot of delusion. There's a lot of like, and that's that Pisces strong energy. It's illusion, delusion, spirituality, but it'll just go, 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 go. It has no boundaries. And it can bring up false prophets, and so the reaction to that is war against it. So it's a fascinating transit that's going to happen, and change that's going to initiate. In the past, it has in this sort of change, it has resulted in some wars. So I hope it doesn't. I pray for peace, and I try to be peaceful with others, but I think a lot of people are just sick of things. And so,
yeah,
which brings me to the final planet, which is Pluto. And Pluto was in Capricorn and now is in Aquarius. And that's a recent shift. That's
yeah,
only happened like for real this past November, and it's not going to go back into Capricorn. So Pluto in Aquarius will be a 20-year transit. That's a long time
yeah,
to be sitting in the sign of revolution, a rebel, of technology advancement,
mm,
of groupthink. a collectivism. So every sign has a light and a darkness to it. Every single sign.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, right? This is why when you experience humans out there, you're like, this is a curious human. And then when you get to really know them, you're like, oh, this is very curious. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's because we're all imperfect yet perfect. We are our charts. And so we have shadow, and unless you're actively working and calling yourself out, it's going to come out in some shape or form. And Aquarius has a really a great want and desire to change things. It's ruled by Saturn, so we're looking at the societal structures,
Mm. Yeah.
and it does it in a very disruptive, erratic way at times. And so the young the young community out there wants change. That's that rebel, that's that revolution, right?
Yeah.
But on the opposite end of this Aquarian energy is the technology advancement, the what's
Mm.
happening here in the United States. There's the and they're both expressing that archetype, but it's coming out differently based on power dynamics. And that's Pluto.
Mm.
Pluto is all about our inner power and
Mm.
transformation, right? It's for us to claim power and not put power over others.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So, yeah, 2025, those three things are
yeah.
happening. And what happens in astrology is once you learn the planets and the signs, then you're like, well, why are these all these lines going across everything? Like, what the
Yeah.
hell is that? Like, is that good or is that bad? And I would say both.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like life, it's both.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
both good and bad. And that tells us the relationships that is happening in between the planets if they're connected by a line. And
Mm.
so some of those lines are called positive and some are
Yeah.
more challenging.
Mm.
And so we are moving towards a time where things are going to be in a trine where quote unquote positive,
Yeah.
but that means that just because it's positive doesn't mean that bad things aren't going to happen. It's just that
Mm.
it's the opportunity for these energies to work together towards whatever that person's goals are.
Yeah.
So if your goal is to dominate others, then here comes more opportunity for others for you to do
Right.
that,
What you
right?
do.
Through technological changes, through maybe a continued censorship in some places, or fighting censorship, but then being exposed to hacks,
Yeah.
right? So that's I would say 2025 is just a glimpse of what's it's going to come in.
Yeah.
Some of these planets are going to go back into their previous sign for the remainder of the year. And then we're
Mm.
going to pick it up again in
Can they?
2026.
Yeah. Do you
And
think
then
it's going to be a bit rocky for the next like 5 years?
5 to 8 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
so.
We're and this is what's fascinating, if you believe in past lives, if you believe that you put yourself here for a reason, but you just don't remember why. I'm like, well, now you see it. Now we're here for this big technological advancement of society because the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, we're talking back in the 1800s, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're moving
Yeah.
fast, full speed. And I don't know. I mean, I joke with people. I'm like, I'm gonna have conversations with people like you. I'm like, hey, remember those times when we had this thing called the iPhone and you could hold it in your hands? Well, I think this is just gonna be virtual and it will be something that humans will be able to project out, interact. It will be or embedded into their bodies.
Mm.
So I don't want to do that, but I can't tell others not to do that. The
Yeah.
humans will do what they want to do. I mean, we've been doing scarring of the body, tattooing of the body, squeezing of the body modifications since day zero. This is part of the human experience.
Mm. Yeah. So we all agreed to be here at this time, this modern. or advancement that's coming. Well, a lot of people are against AI. I'm not really sure if I am. I think I'm more for it now. To begin with, I was a bit, oh, like this sounds a bit scary and all that. But you can go down the negative with everything, can't you? But if you look at some of the things that it can do as well, I think, as I say, there's negative and positive and everything. But I choose to look at the more positive aspects of it, of what's going to come. And I find that quite exciting that I'm going to be here in that time and experience from having a dial-up phone in the house or going to the phone box, coming right the way through to what we're actually going to be seeing before I pass away. It's just amazing how far we've come already, isn't it? In
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
50, 60 years or whatever that we've been around. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. So I obviously signed up for this bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, I think so. I mean, others would kind of look at me and like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, okay, it's fine. We
They
don't
won't
have
be
to have,
watching this podcast, those ones.
right? Like, we don't have to have that conversation. But yeah, I feel like so many of us have. And I also feel like many people who have left were for a reason. Like, I don't think anything happens without a reason. Like, and I mean, geez, the amount of stories I could tell you about my own life where I'm like, why did that happen? And I go
Yeah,
look back, I'm like, because it needed to happen.
yeah,
And yeah, the other big tip that I'll give people is that things are going to feel very fast. Why? Because air signs and fire signs are not slow.
yeah,
Do you ever see a slow fire?
yeah.
No. Now, when you add air to fire, what happens? It gets bigger.
Mm.
So think about that in your own life. Like, am I communicating too fast and not paying attention to my words? Am I being feeling rushed and not grounded in my body? Am I disconnected from what's happening here at this moment? Like, these are things that need to be looked at. That fire energy of Aries is like initiate, and you're gonna have to slow down. That's why I was explaining the wheel before.
Yeah,
After Aries is Taurus. Taurus is slow, slow.
yeah,
They take their time, chewing, contemplating,
yeah, they do.
you know.
Got a few of those in my family. Yeah,
Yeah,
take
they're
them
very happy
take a
doing,
while.
eating grass every single day. Like, that's the the cow. Like, hello.
Yeah, but
So
it's
that fi-
everything's sped up, isn't it? That the days just go quicker. Everything's going quick, isn't it?
yeah, and
Still,
it'll definitely be perceived that way, and
yeah.
perhaps it is. They say like as we get older, our perception of time speeds up because we're not learning anything new anymore. Right,
Mm,
it's already embedded into our brain, so it's like I don't need to replay that. We can just jump ahead and boom.
okay.
So yeah, AI, that's a fascinating topic that I have feelings about. And having started my whole career on the internet, and only working on the internet, I this is just part of the evolution. People don't understand that AI has always been with us.
Yeah.
It's just now being moved into the more larger public realm. And the challenging parts that are going to be with that is, um, just like we have with the internet, is that we're not going to have, unless we force ourselves or realize it very early on, that we need to have healthy hygiene habits.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I say this all the time now. I have my little rants about it. You just end up down a rabbit hole and waste 2 hours just scrolling through something because it just mind numbing stuff, really. And not knocking any of the platforms, but I do find TikTok even the worst thing for me. Just gives me brain ache. I can't even cope with that one too much, and I don't
Yeah.
think that's an age thing. I think it's just too much like this.
Yeah, I
Quick.
do feel like that's caused a lot of ADD, in society, that instant gratification, dopamine hit. Um, yeah, I don't have TikTok. I have no idea what it looks like.
I did get it for a while. Someone suggested that I should use it for work, and I went on it and I just thought, this is brain damage. I can't, why are they even looking at this stuff? But apparently, like, people do really well on it.
Oh my God, millions,
On there,
millions.
and
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
honestly,
absolutely.
yeah.
I'm so vintage that I still call Twitter Twitter. I don't even call it. I'm like when people say X, I'm like, what are
Yeah.
you talking about? Twitter? No, it's just Twitter, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I come off of that. I don't do I try to do as little as possible on social media at the moment, if I
I
can help.
have, yeah, I have an account, and guess what? I think the
Don't
last
use it.
publication was like 2018.
Actually, I went on your Facebook page. When was the last time you posted on that? It's about 20 last year you posted on that.
Yeah, I'm much more active in my Facebook group that I have.
Yeah.
And yeah, as an ex-marketer who felt at the time like, oh, I need to be on all platforms, but it made sense because I was working for corporations. But
Mm,
now as a small business owner, I'm like, no, I
yeah.
refuse to buy that crazy insanity like advice. I do not need to be on all platforms in
Yeah.
order to build an audience. As I get bigger and as I get like the support, then yeah, maybe I'll consider it. But the first and foremost, my health is most
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my main one is my group page, because that's what I use. That's what I post everything on, where people go and look for stuff and do stuff. Not my Facebook page as such, my group page. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. That we should do that. Have you got a YouTube channel?
I'll be starting one. I have one where some of my unlisted videos are for my membership,
Yeah.
but I'm going to be doing that. Yeah, because I'd like to just drop in like little blurbs for people to
Mm,
capture and learn. It'll be mostly oriented around like a podcast type of like teaching type of
yeah.
way. It's slowly but surely. I had the craziest thing happen to me in 2023 where I had an ocular stroke to my right eye.
Okay.
And so I lost vision in my right eye. And it's bad enough that it impacts my whole field of vision where it's blurry.
Mm,
So my my speed of what I'm accustomed to in the past has gone from like what it was here to now here. And I kind of giggle. I'm like, it's interesting how things like AI and all these other tools have come in now that I'm impaired and I do need help in this way. And like tools like Canva are so much easier. And like
mm.
people have no clue. Like I remember hand coding stuff back in the day and like, using tools that were so clunky to design stuff. It was awful, awful.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the is it Chat GTP or B or
There's
whatever
Chat
it is?
GPT and there's
Yeah.
Claude and there's
Yeah.
there's so much out there that can help you
Yeah.
manage your time. If you're, especially if you're a small business owner, you don't need to do
Yeah.
all of it. You can and this
God,
is
yeah.
where I do think and so extrapolating, this is the problem. So the one of the concerns is that our reliance of AI will cut out people from their jobs.
Mm,
Okay. Well, the internet didn't cut out jobs. It
no.
created more jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's happening is more of you're going to in the future you need to understand these systems and these tools because it will be part of your day to day, just like checking your email or
Mm,
checking your whatever is,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
it will just be part of that. um and there will be new jobs created for just that.
Mm,
And
yeah.
it's hard for people to get their minds wrapped around. I don't know what they're going to look like. I just know that that's what's going to happen because that's always what's happens. Now, there's a conversation of universal basic income possibly rolling out to help support humans. I don't know. I don't know where things are going to go. I just know that the all the signs are to adopt technology. That's just
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
how it
you either got
goes.
to learn to try and use it, or you get left behind. And as you said, it makes some of the things in your business, it makes life easier to be able to use it and just get them. go on there, pop on there. I ask them to create a post for Facebook for me, and bam, there it is. I haven't got to sit there for half an hour trying to think what I'm going to put in it. It's there. I just do it. So, like, why would you not want to do that? I've like everyone's got better things they can do with their time, haven't they? Really,
Yeah,
than just sit there like trying to work out what's the best way to do it. I mean, even with the YouTube channel, I use it for the CEO to give me the titles and what to
right.
put in it. And that
Yeah.
wasn't even a thing I was thinking about doing before when
Hmm.
I started up doing the YouTube. I didn't even think of CEO and all of that till somebody sent me an email. I thought, oh, yes, something else I need to do. But yeah, just makes life easier. So that's why I use it. So I get AI to generate my titles for me. So they give you a list of them and you just pick which one, and you hope the one you pick is the one people look for and people look at. So
Yeah.
yeah, I find it's made my life easier by doing it. So but anyway, I said it's like a whole new subject, isn't it? So when do you run your stuff? When do you do your work on in your group? Is it like once a week? You pop on your private group, and can anyone join your group?
Yeah, anybody can join my group. It's open to all.
Okay.
So I share things daily there. My membership is self-directed, and they at their own pace go through what they want to learn.
Yeah.
And I meet with them quarterly, but I just announced that I'm going to be meeting with them monthly.
Okay.
And I haven't figured out the schedule yet for that. But yeah, if you're curious about learning astrology, just join the group and like peek
Mm,
in. I have plenty of resources that are free to help guide you.
yeah.
And I have my summit that I mentioned, and then I'm going to be doing
Definitely.
a free 5 day, I think 5 day or I can't remember. It might be 3 day challenge for using the moon phases for
Mhm.
planning and goal setting. And yeah,
So they can find these on your website, can they? Things
yeah,
you've got.
yeah, yeah. The best way to find out about these things is to get on my email list on my
Okay.
website. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I think I'll put all your links on below this
Yeah.
video so
I'll,
they can find you. And we've put you in the group anyway, so you can put some stuff on so
oh, thank
people can
you.
find you. But yeah, I'll join your group.
Oh,
I'm
perfect. Yeah.
fascinated.
Oh, good. Yeah, do come. Yeah, yeah, I'll be happy to share the links. I have some things for people to check out that are free and more about my membership and then how to get on my email list.
That's brilliant.
And part of I want to also mention is that my event, the summit, I'll be giving away a consult, an astrological consult. So you have to attend live, but yeah, just there'll be plenty of opportunities to get something like that from
Yeah,
myself. I am here to understand people's needs, what they're curious about, and share some of my magic with others.
yeah. Well, it's such a big subject, isn't it? And sometimes when you go looking at it, if there's so much of it, it gets a bit like, oh, I don't think I'm ever going to remember all of this. But if you've got someone that can just explain it in terms like just normal, so that you can just pick it up and you go, oh, right, I get it, because you've explained all the planets and everything. I think everyone now's gone, oh, yeah, right, I get that.
Yeah.
It's just made it simple for people to understand. We don't want all this complicated jargon to try and get our head around to try and think that what was
No.
that again?
Yeah. Well, here's the interesting the future I know, and I know we're probably out of run of time, is astrology over the years has really been just for astrologers.
Yeah,
And the idea was to read the chart for you and consult you.
yeah.
And I'm still available for that as well, but I actually want to empower you to do it for yourself
Mm,
because it can really give you some, oh gosh, guideposts, comfort. It can get you out of your own shit, excuse my
mm,
language.
yeah,
Like it's really helpful for us to understand that there are reasons for some things that are coming up. And if you're inclined like I am, plan your year so you're like, oh, okay, these are my optimal times for
mm.
XYZ.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
there have been many times where I've planned my years in the past, where I was like, I don't even know why I bothered.
Do you know what? I do look on a bit about like on YouTube and stuff about astrology, and they said that Capricorn, I haven't got a retrograde this year. So I was quite happy about that. There's no
Oh,
retrograde in my sign this year, apparently.
no, there isn't.
Yeah.
No, yeah, unlike me, I have Mars right now in
Yeah.
Cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of that volatility that's happening right now is Mars in Cancer.
Mm. Oh, well, that's my opposite sign, so I don't know if that still affects me, but I was
It
quite. I
does.
think I just think I don't know about any other signs, but I just think Capricorns get a hard time of it, especially for, it seems to have gone on forever. And I think like just for the fact I know because I got quite a lot of Capricorns on my page, right? And we often say that God, it's just never ending. The stuff that just keeps going on for us, and like have we got a bit of a respite this year then? Because a lot of
Yeah,
people have said, go on holiday, spend your money, take it easier, like that. And
yeah.
I'm going, I'm well up for that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, Pluto going over anything to do in Capricorn since 2008.
Yeah. See, years.
It is a really long time, and Pluto is a slow energy of unearthing shadow, and it will show itself as power dynamics in your life. So yeah, I could see that being difficult to go through that it's a death and rebirth of the soul essentially for you.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seemed like it just went on and on and on
Yeah.
forever. And I feel like, yeah, it seems a bit lighter this year. I just feel it that it is
Yeah.
not so heavy. So I'm quite pleased about that. And there is something coming up in June as well that somebody mentioned. You probably will know more about that, but
Yeah. Yeah. There is another big transit in June.
a good one,
It's
please.
related to the planets I mentioned before, but yeah, these are yeah, 2025, like for some people it'll be easier and for some it won't. Honestly, those who will do well in this coming year are those who understand that there's a lot of chaos,
Mm,
and chaos generally brings about a lot of um, things that we don't want to deal with, right? It will literally rip the rug under you, like
mm,
a fire or an earthquake, or right. And so we're facing multiple things at the same time. We're seeing
yeah.
astrological shifts, we're seeing planetary shifts, and by planetary I mean the earth.
Mm,
And so if you are able to do the basic practices of breath work,
yeah.
of putting your feet on the ground, of turning off your electrical devices and going within, then
Mm,
you'll be okay.
yeah. Absolutely. I say this to my group. I have a private group that I do meditations and stuff with or activations. And I say to them, I don't understand why people are not doing the self care, why they're not doing the meditations, why they're not doing just the normal stuff to keep themselves grounded, because you'll ride through these waves a lot easier by doing this stuff. And if it is breath work or whatever it is that, is your thing, but just do it. And I don't care who they do it with or whichever way they do it, but they should be doing it. And then they'll get through these next, I think it was 5 years, but yeah, might be 8, where it's all up in the air. When, you've got to try and just do the best you can to get through it and stay focused and grounded, haven't you, in these times? And I think it's going to bring up a lot of authenticity as well. I'm going to think all these people that are not very authentic, it's all going to show now. And everything's going to be so those people that are functioning from a place that are not authentic, I think they're going to have a bit of a wake up call, and people are going to see it as well, aren't they? It's going to be shown. So yeah, I think
Yes.
it'd be interesting, interesting ride. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
you're
okay.
absolutely
I'm okay.
correct.
I'm positive about it. I do my work. I do my spiritual work. I do my stuff. So I feel like it's a bit lighter for me. So I feel like I can step back this year and just take it a little bit easier, and not feel like I'm holding on for dear life like I have been for the last, God knows, so many years. Like this has all been going on. But yeah, it's been really wonderful to talk to you. I would love you to come back on again.
Yeah,
In
absolutely. I would love to join you.
yeah, that would be great. I'll put all the links for people to find you and everything, and I will join your group, so you will see me on there. So I'll be one of the people that will be interested in all your stuff. So I really appreciate you coming on today. I think it's been a wonderful conversation. I've really enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you, Gracie. So Tracy, I so appreciate it. I enjoy talking and sharing. I try to like moderate, like, okay, how deep do I go? I don't want to lose people in these conversations. So thank you for being so patient with me. And I so looking forward to getting to know you and your group better and sharing. And yeah,
It's
I
been
love
wonderful.
it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.